I should have known something was wrong when James insisted on having our engagement party at his mother's estate. In the 8 months we'd been together, Victoria Matthews had made it crystal clear that I wasn't the kind of woman she'd envisioned for her surgeon's son. Old money doesn't mix with scholarship students, dear, she told me during our first meeting, examining my H&M dress as if it were contaminated. But James had been different. He defended me, loved me for my ambition, and promised that his mother's opinion didn't matter. That should have been my first red flag. No one from the Matthews family ever went against Victoria's wishes. The engagement party was everything you'd expect from Boston's elite. Champagne that cost more than my monthly rent, ice sculptures that probably cost more than my car, and guests who casually discussed their summer homes in the Hamptons. I stood in my carefully chosen dress, the most expensive thing I'd ever owned, feeling like an imposter. Olivia, darling, Victoria's voice cut through my thoughts. She was wearing a designer suit that probably cost more than my entire education. Could we speak privately in the study? There are some family matters to discuss. James squeezed my hand. Go ahead, honey. Mom probably wants to give you the family pearls or something. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. I followed Victoria through the maze of corridors in their mansion, my heels clicking against the marble floors. The study was exactly what you'd expect. Leather-bound books, an antique desk, and oil paintings of stern-looking Matthews ancestors judging me from their frames. Victoria closed the door and moved to the desk, pulling out a thick envelope. I'll make this simple, dear. Sign these papers now, and I'll give you $500,000 to walk away quietly. My hands shook as I opened the envelope. Divorce papers. Already filled out, dated 6 months in the future. What is this? Insurance, Victoria smiled, the same cold smile I'd seen her give the household staff. You see, I had you investigated. Full background check. Your mother's gambling debts, your father's drinking problem. That scholarship you only got because your essay made the dean cry. Do you really think you belong in our world? The room seemed to spin. Does James know about this? Victoria's laugh was like ice cracking. Oh, sweetheart. Who do you think suggested it? My heart stopped. You're lying. Am I? She slid her phone across the desk. Text messages from James lit up the screen. Mom, make sure she signs. Use whatever leverage you need. The trust fund depends on this marriage looking legitimate for at least 6 months. Don't worry, she's desperate enough to take the money. My entire world crumbled as I read message after message. The perfect man I've fallen in love with, the one who said he didn't care about my background, had been playing me all along. But Victoria didn't know everything. She hadn't discovered what I found last week while using James's laptop. His secret Instagram account, the other engagements, the elaborate con he'd been running with different women across 3 states. You know, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. It's interesting you did a background check on me. I pulled out my phone, because I did some investigating of my own. Victoria's smile faltered slightly. Whatever you think you found. 3 engagements in the past year. I cut her off. All to women from questionable backgrounds, as you'd say. All pressured to sign similar papers. All promised huge payoffs. I pulled up the screenshots. But here's what's really interesting. The trust fund James is so desperate to access, it requires him to be married by 30. Not just engaged, not legally separated. Married, and his 30th birthday is in 7 months. The color drained from Victoria's face. How did you find out? I'm not just some scholarship student, Victoria. I'm a forensic accounting major. Numbers tell stories, and your family's numbers tell a fascinating one. I stood up, smoothing my dress. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to walk back into that party and tell everyone exactly what kind of man your perfect son really is. Unless. Victoria's hands clenched the desk. Unless what? Unless you'd like to discuss a different kind of arrangement, one that protects both your family's reputation and ensures my silence. I picked up the divorce papers and tore them in half. Shall we rejoin the party while you think it over? The look on Victoria's face almost made the last 8 months worth it. Almost. As we walked back to the party, I could hear James's voice carrying across the room, probably charming another potential victim. Victoria grabbed my arm. You wouldn't dare make a scene. I smiled, the same cold smile she'd given me countless times. Watch me. James turned as we entered, his practiced smile faltering when he saw my expression. He had no idea that his perfectly orchestrated engagement party was about to become a very different kind of social event. I grabbed a champagne glass and a spoon, ready to make an announcement that would change everything. But first, I needed to text someone. The other 3 fiancés I contacted were waiting at a nearby coffee shop, ready for my signal. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. Sometimes it's served in front of 200 of Boston's elite, with photographic evidence and multiple witnesses. James raised his glass to make a toast, completely unaware that his entire world was about to implode. To my beautiful fiancé. I cut him off by tapping my glass. Actually, darling, I'd like to make the toast. I have quite a story to tell everyone. The crystal champagne glass trembled slightly in my hand as 200 pairs of eyes turned toward me. James's perfect smile froze, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his handsome face. Victoria stepped forward, probably to stop me, but she was too late. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. I began, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. Especially since we're about to have not one, but 4 engagement celebrations. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. James's father, the distinguished Judge Matthews, set down his drink, his legal mind probably already sensing the impending disaster. Honey, James started, moving toward me with that charming smile that had fooled so many women. Maybe you've had too much champagne. Actually, I'm completely sober, I replied, pulling out my phone. Unlike you last weekend in New York with Jessica, I turned to the crowd. Or was it last month in Chicago with Amanda? Or maybe 2 weeks ago in Miami with Lauren? The double doors of the ballroom swung open right on cue. 3 women walked in, each wearing an identical engagement ring to mine. I'd spent the last week coordinating this moment with them, each of us piecing together the elaborate scheme that had entangled us all. James's face went from confused to ashen in seconds. Victoria gripped her pearls so hard I thought they might snap. Judge Matthews stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the marble floor. Ladies, I nodded to my fellow fiancés. Would you like to share when James proposed to each of you? Jessica, a pediatric nurse from New York, stepped forward first. 3 months ago, at the top of the Empire State Building, he said I was the only one who understood him. 4 months ago, Amanda added, her voice shaking slightly. On a private yacht in Lake Michigan, he said his family's trust fund required marriage, but he'd chosen me because of love. Lauren, a kindergarten teacher from Miami, completed the picture. 6 weeks ago, he said he never met anyone like me. The room erupted in gasps and whispers. James's sister dropped her champagne glass, the crystal shattering on the floor in a perfect metaphor for the moment. You see, I continued, my voice growing stronger, James here has a little problem. His trust fund requires marriage before his 30th birthday, but what his family didn't know was that he planned to marry someone, claim the money, and then have his mother pressure the bride into a quick, quiet divorce with a nice payout for silence, of course. Victoria stepped forward, her designer heels clicking against the marble. These are ridiculous accusations. Oh, I'm not finished, I cut her off. Because the really interesting part isn't just the multiple engagements, it's the money. I nodded to Amanda, who opened her laptop and connected it to the room's projector. Financial records filled the screen. Bank transfers, investment accounts, and a complex web of transactions that I'd spent weeks untangling. While James was promising forever to 4 different women, he was also moving money from his hospital's charitable foundation through a series of offshore accounts. I turned to Judge Matthews. I believe that's called embezzlement, isn't it, Your Honor? The judge's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. He'd spent decades building his reputation in Boston's legal circles, and now his son's actions threatened to destroy it all. The charity money was supposed to fund children's cancer research, Jessica added, her voice thick with disgust. That's how I met him. I was coordinating with the foundation for my pediatric patients. James finally found his voice. This is insane. You can't prove any of this. I smiled, the same confident smile he'd given me when promising we'd be together forever. Actually, I can. You see, James, you really should have Googled me before you decided to make me fiancé number 4. I'm not just some struggling scholarship student. I'm a forensic accountant specializing in financial crimes. And I'm very, very good at my job. The projector switched to screenshots of James's secret Instagram account, showing him with different women in different cities, always with the same practiced smile and rehearsed promises. And these records, I gestured to the screen, have already been sent to the hospital board, the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, and the Boston Globe. They should be running the story in tomorrow's paper. Victoria stumbled backward, collapsing into a nearby chair. Her perfectly curated world was crumbling in real time, and for once, her money and social connections couldn't fix it. "You're done, James," Lauren said quietly. "We're all done being your pawns." The room had evolved from shocked whispers to open chaos. Cell phones were out, social media already buzzing with Boston's scandal of the year. Judge Matthews was frantically making calls, probably to every lawyer he knew. Victoria had disappeared, likely retreating to process her social humiliation. James made one last desperate attempt. "Olivia, please. We can work this out. Whatever they're paying you to do this." "That's your problem, James. You think everything and everyone can be bought." I twisted his expensive engagement ring off my finger. "But some things actually are priceless, like integrity and justice." I dropped the ring into his champagne glass, watching it sink to the bottom. "By the way, the other 3 rings, they're all fakes, just like you." The sound of police sirens filtered through the mansion's windows. Perfect timing. I coordinated with the FBI to arrive just as the evidence was presented. Sometimes justice needs a dramatic stage. "Ladies," I turned to my fellow almost brides, "I believe that's our cue to leave. I hear there's a great bar down the street where we can toast to dodging 4 identical bullets." As we walked toward the door, Jessica paused. "What about the trust fund?" "The whole reason he did this." I laughed, genuine amusement breaking through my composed facade. "Oh, that's the best part. I found the actual trust document. There was never a marriage requirement. James' grandfather just wanted him to demonstrate responsibility and character by his 30th birthday. I'd say tonight proves he failed that test spectacularly." We left through the grand entrance, passing FBI agents on their way in. The warm summer air felt cleansing after the suffocating atmosphere of wealth and deceit inside. Behind us, Boston's elite were witnessing the downfall of their perfect golden boy, and no amount of family influence could stop what was coming. Lauren linked her arm through mine as we walked away from the chaos. "So, forensic accountant, huh? Think you could help me understand my student loan statements?" For the first time that evening, I felt light, free from the weight of secrets and schemes. "First round of drinks is on me, ladies. I think we have some stories to share." 3 months later, I sat in a downtown Boston cafe, reading the newspaper coverage of James Matthews' sentencing. 8 years for financial fraud and embezzlement. The mighty really do fall hard when their crimes catch up to them. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Did you see Victoria Matthews is selling the mansion?" Apparently, the social humiliation was too much. Attached was a real estate listing for the estate where our dramatic engagement party had unfolded. I smiled, remembering how things had played out after that night. The 4 of us, Jessica, Amanda, Lauren, and I, had formed an unexpected sisterhood. Weekly wine nights turned into a support group for women who'd escaped toxic relationships. We even started a consulting firm together, helping other women identify financial red flags in their relationships. The bell above the cafe door chimed, and I looked up to see Judge Matthews walking in. He'd aged a decade in 3 months, his distinguished silver hair now almost completely white. He spotted me and, after a moment's hesitation, approached my table. "Miss Anderson," he said formally, his voice carrying the weight of his fallen dynasty. "May I?" I gestured to the empty chair across from me. He sat down, straightening his tie, a nervous habit I'd noticed during James's trial. "I owe you an apology," he began, surprising me, "not just for my son's actions, but for my own willful blindness. I spent so many years protecting James from consequences that I became part of the problem." I stirred my coffee slowly, considering his words. The Children's Cancer Foundation, those families deserved better. "Yes," he agreed quietly. "Which is why I've liquidated my retirement fund to repay every dollar James stole. The foundation will continue its work, under new leadership, of course." We sat in silence for a moment, the bustling cafe continuing around us. "Victoria asked me to give you this," he finally said, placing an envelope on the table. She's getting help. Turns out enabling James wasn't her only problem." I opened the envelope to find a handwritten letter. "Dear Olivia, I spent years building a perfect facade for my family, destroying anyone who threatened to crack it. In doing so, I helped create the monster my son became. Your actions, while devastating to our family, probably saved future women from the same fate. The family pearls I once said you'd never be worthy of, I've sold them. The money has been donated to a domestic violence shelter in your name. I'm learning that real strength isn't in maintaining appearances, but in facing truth. Victoria Matthews, I folded the letter carefully, tucking it away. Tell her I received it. Judge Matthews nodded, standing to leave. He paused, looking down at me. You know, the trust fund really was about demonstrating character. You showed more of it than any of us. After he left, I opened my laptop to check the latest emails for our consulting firm. A new message caught my eye from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. They wanted us to conduct training sessions for their agents on identifying relationship-based financial fraud. My phone buzzed again, this time with our group chat. Lauren just helped another woman escape a James-like situation. She's safe now. Amanda, our story saved another one. Worth everything we went through. Jessica, wine night tonight to celebrate. I'm buying. I typed back, count me in, and wait until you hear who just walked into my cafe. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's using that truth to protect others. James had wanted to use my accounting skills to hide his crimes. Instead, those same skills had brought him down and were now helping other women protect themselves. As I gathered my things to leave, I caught my reflection in a cafe window. The scared, uncertain woman who'd once stood in Victoria's study, holding divorce papers and fighting back tears, was gone. In her place was someone stronger, wiser, and surprisingly grateful for the experience that had transformed her. My phone buzzed one final time, a news alert. Matthew's family scandal leads to new financial protection laws for engaged couples. I smiled, thinking of Victoria's pearls, now transformed into shelter and safety for women in need. Some things really are priceless, like justice, redemption, and the unshakable bonds formed in the aftermath of surviving someone else's perfect lies.